Hello, Michael Pilhofer.
Well, hello.
So, Michael, I thought it might be interesting to talk about routines today with you because given the COVID-19 epidemic we are all in, I think we know from a lot of people we talk to and work with that routines have kind of gone out the door.
Yeah, completely. Yeah.
Completely. Yeah. So I thought, I thought it might be interesting to just kind of talk about why routines are important and then maybe share some tips that we have for ways that we can help people think about routines maybe differently, reframe them a little bit.
Yep. Awesome.
Sound good? So one of the things that I talk about a lot with clients regarding routines, because oftentimes when we're trying to make change or we're forced to make change, we are uncomfortable because we are habitually in a routine that we're used to. And that has certainly been the case pre-COVID, which most people are sort of in the habit of doing things the way they've done it. And now that we're all being forced to do it very differently than we're used to, it sort of puts into question what is routine and why is it important? And I think, for many, the first few days, there was absolutely zero sense of routine. Maybe a month into it, there still may be for people a sense of lack of routine. So, reasons why it's important to maintain a routine of some sort is just that it, provides structure for us. It gives us an opportunity to stay grounded, gives us something to point to and kind of reset. It can be like a reset point for us, almost like boundaries. It helps us sort of maintain our boundaries and allow us to understand what's coming next. I often think it's sort of like a reset for our brains. We're sort of training our brains and preparing for what's coming next when we have a routine. And it really helps our body and mind get prepared for what's coming next. So it's a calming mechanism really to have a routine in some ways, as much as we can often resist it at some points. I think it's really important to have a routine to manage life, manage whatever routine you're in, and also have a sense of control. And I think that's a big piece right now with this pandemic that we're in, is people feel like they've really lost a lot of control in their lives.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, think about my world. I mean, I have a physical space. I mean, most people's version or expression of fitness is going to a facility. I mean, while I do some remote coaching where, people do have robust equipments at their home, most 90%, 99% of people go to, so they live, speaking of routine, I mean, they have a week's schedule built around sometimes an entire relationship with family and built around a schedule of, on Monday and Wednesday, right after work, and that's now completely gone. So that just, separate to equipment issues, there's so, my folks in my realm are so sort of turned upside down. And we've really been working really hard with our client base to help provide them resources, to find a way through this. And you use the term reframing. We've really had to reframe what training is now and what's appropriate and how it can look in this environment and not be beholden to our expectations of what was. And because it can't be that, well, then we shouldn't just do it at all. Then it should just be out the window. Oh, well, I just can't. No, hold on. Like, let's back that up a little bit. Like, we can absolutely find ways to make it work, because we have to remember why we're doing it in the first place. What's the purpose and the why behind why we chose to take time out of our lives to go to a fitness facility or put time into our bodies for overall health and wellness. So we can get into it a little bit, but I mean, from a specific application standpoint, like a lot of people in the fitness realm the folks are struggling because they just don't know what to do or where to go or what should I be doing? What's the right thing? Or I just don't have the time, or all those, I'm not going to say excuses, but challenges.
Yeah. And I think that reframing piece is such a big one, because it's so easy to sort of in your head go, well, I can't do it the way I did before, so therefore I'm not doing it. And then there's just all sorts of emotions around that, because again, we don't have choice, right? We're seeing this as, I don't have a choice because I'm being told I cannot go to the gym, or I'm being told I cannot go to X, Y, and Z.
Yep.
And so that reframing of your mind and realizing this is an opportunity to be creative, with our routines and with our lives. All change creates opportunity, and it's really finding that reframing of your mind to be able to say, okay, this is going to look different, and I need to be a little compassionate with myself and those people around me to recognize it's not going to look perfect. It may look a little messy for a while as we try to sort of sort this out, but is there an opportunity for me to do it differently? And maybe I'll discover that it's a better way to do it, frankly.
How would you, like, if we were thinking of specific strategies, and it's hard too, because we don't know, we both have such high touch approaches to how we work with people. So we don't know who's on the other end of this video, but what would be some like strategies that you would think would be great for people to start with?
Yeah. So, the number one thing that I tell any client that I work with who is in the midst of change or being forced to change is trying to make small changes first to set yourself up for success. A lot of times when we want to make change, we really have this ideal in our mind of where we want to be at the end of it. And so we go right there, and we have to, we in our minds think we have to have it look like that pretty picture at the end, or else it's no good. And we kind of forget that success is sort of an accumulation of things happening along the way. So, really trying to pull back and look at our daily lives or our routines, whatever they may be, to say, what's something small that I can work with? And I know, for me, my routine probably isn't as drastically changed as people who have 4 children at home. But for me, a routine that I'm very beholden to is going to, my prep for going to bed. And for me, that looks like a couple hours before I go to bed, I put any laptop or cell phone away. So I'm off email, I'm off any kind of things that giving me notifications. Sometimes I'll watch a show that doesn't rev my brain up. It's just sort of a mellow show to kind of send me off to La La Land, if you were. And then I, make some tea for myself. Just again, these are all cues for my mind to be like, oh yeah, I'm getting ready for sleep. This is part of our routine. I'll go upstairs and spend, 30 to 45 minutes reading in bed, because it just helps me get my mind to a place of I'm ready for bed now. So that's a routine for me. If I just focused on that, that would help me the next day forward.
That's awesome. If I was thinking of that in my realm a little bit, I think that the biggest challenge that most people, if their expression of fitness is going to a facility, is the interfacing with equipment. It's equipment based, and it is not an expectation or a realistic expectation to even think that you can try to replicate what clients of mine do in my facility, that what they can do at home. And to your point a second ago, let's just work within the truth of what is. Let's not be frustrated about, all of your gains that you worked and earned are waiting for you in weeks ahead. So where I think for my folks is, let's figure out first, more importantly, to your point around routine, where can we allocate time, gift ourselves time for ourselves to find a little corner of a room or a basement or something, so that we can have a space to do some stuff. I think that's the bigger challenge. When you talked about families, holy cow, I can't imagine the challenge of trying to deal with all of the things of raising family that's now in front of you, plus you're supposed to be a 9 to 5 on your laptop and working. And so I think it's important, first and foremost for me, if I'm talking to anybody out there who's thinking fitness and struggling, let's make sure we have some of the more important building blocks figured out first. Let's make sure we're still sleeping well. Let's make sure we're trying to manage our stress. And people can work through that stress through training, and I get that. But I want to be cautious that we're not trying to escape and run from unhealthy habits into some intense sort of training environment. That's not going to be a benefit for you long term. So making sure you're sleeping well, do the best you can to find the best nutritional practices that you can within the scenarios that are available to you. And then with that, let's see if we can carve out a little bit of time. Now, for most people, you know, fitness is an hour experience, an hour and a half experience. Don't feel it has to be that way. You may, with body weight movements or lightly resisted movements, 10 or 15 minute, 20-minute touches, or even less. Now, every day can be just as valuable or more valuable in feeding your brain and gifting yourself and your body some movement and a nice departure from sitting at your dining room table on your laptop in an unergonomic position for hours.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just get up and move around, walk outside if you can, if that's an option for you. So I guess for me, for the last weeks with my clan, it's been reframing what fitness looks like into a new light and into a new way. And I think people have really sort of started to enjoy it with sort of just kind of being thrust into, and of course with our support, being able to provide them with information. And if people are struggling, there are resources out there. There are people that you can go reach out to that can help guide you too. So that would sort of be my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I love that you say that, particularly as a strengths coach, Michael, because it's so easy, as you say, for people to escape to what they know and what they want to be able to do. Again, back to this, what I should be doing or what I used to be doing. And because so many other things are not the way they have been, pulling back to sort of like, what's the most basic priorities for me right now? And I might have to do less of everything, but at least if I am really sorting out what are my biggest priorities, what are my values, and making sure that I pay attention to those in some fashion so that I'm sort of keeping all the spokes on the wheel fueled in some way and not just letting certain ones go.
Right.
To allow you to not hurt yourself when you are working out. You know, all those pieces go together. So I think it's just important to, again, have self-compassion, have a little space in your mind to accept that things aren't going to be quite the same, and that's okay, but we can work around it and some kind of manage a slightly different routine in a different way and get creative and, you know, experiment a little.
I think it's just a final thought. You made me think of this, and this is maybe more of a request or a thought out there for those that maybe don't have the luxury to train with a coach or have those resources. Be very thoughtful with yourself when you are able to get back into a more traditional routine. If you used to do more resistance work and now you're not able to for weeks and weeks and weeks, and then you'd have that first day back in the gym, let's be a little gentle. Let's be a little thoughtful. Let's ramp back into what we know. And I know this is hard because so many people work so hard to build you know, wonderful results that they've earned. And those are there, as I mentioned earlier, those are waiting for you. Just give them a chance to re-express themselves. Give yourself a couple of weeks to ease the body back into training. Don't hit it hard on day one. That's not going to go well for you or your body. So be gentle.
And that's the message for this whole thing, I think, right? The routine is be gentle with yourself in creating a new routine. We've all been unmoored from our traditional routines, whether it's physical, sleep, any of that, physical working out, sleeping. So we need to be gentle in recreating those routines, and we need to be gentle with transitioning back into what we are used to as a routine as well. So it all goes hand in hand, I think.
Kate Jackson, fun conversation. I always love when we have a chance to chat with each other.
Me too. Thanks, Michael.